Greetings and salutations to all of you lovely, fluffy, non-fluffy, and equally beautiful listeners out there. I hope that your November, halfway through now, as you see by the date, is going well. I hope that the first 2 weeks of the Thanksgiving season, as we're calling it, has been good to you, and I hope that you've been keeping up and doing as well as you can be. This is one of those ill-prepared episodes, much to my dismay, but I think we can wing it. I think we can certainly get through, wing it, do what we gotta do, just talk about whatever comes to mind. And I don't mind these types of episodes. I really don't. I don't mind just sitting and, rattling off whatever is this beautiful mind comes up with, Not a whole lot to report, if I'm being honest, from this past week. It's been pretty chill, very busy at work, and I've been struggling to make a video this week, so to speak. I'm just going to be honest for a second, and I think this will help somebody out there. It's got to. I'm going to do my best to explain how my brain kind of works in the whole YouTube process. So I've been trying very hard, and I think this is the problem. I've been trying very hard to get a consistent upload schedule. And I told myself a long time ago, when I restarted the channel back in 2020, I told myself that I was going to do weekly uploads, and for a while I was pretty consistent. Like, I was keeping a good weekly schedule of videos. And I also, as you kind of see with the podcast, I may miss a week here and there, but I will, for the most part, go with weekly uploads as much as I can. And the same with streaming. I've been streaming weekly. Even if I can't do both days a week, I try my best to do a stream a week on Twitch. So it's in some other mediums, it has been successful to post something content related once per week at least. And I don't know why, but just lately it seems like I've been struggling with keeping that up with the main channel. So for the past few weeks, I'll say even months, I've been I don't want to say lazy with uploading. It's not really laziness. It's just more just doing the thing, suiting up, turning on the camera, doing ASMR or whatever I'm doing for that week for the channel, and just committing to it and getting it done, editing and uploading, right? It's a process. It takes time, and no good work is not without work. No good finished product is without its work that's put into it. That is very true. We are all familiar with that on some level. But I don't know what it is. I wouldn't say it's lack of motivation either, because I'm definitely motivated. It's just taking that first step to getting it done has been a bit of a challenge. And, I'm here to tell you that if you're out there right now feeling that as well as you are not alone in this. It is a process for me as well. It is something of a hurdle that I have to get myself over as well. Just simply by the fact of doing it. Just sitting down, doing it, getting it done, and getting it finished. And it's not that I've lost my strive for YouTube. I still have that. I still have the passion. I'm very passionate, when it comes to this kind of thing. But at the same time, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting in my own head, thinking that it's not going to be as good, or I feel like maybe I don't have what it takes like I used to. I feel like sometimes you know, I'm a I am a super procrastinator. I am very I'm very skilled at procrastination. Like ever since my school days to now, procrastination has always been part of my arsenal, part of my talent arsenal. And I find it very strange that I tend to work under pressure very well. And, you know, um, I've been decent at exams in the past. I've been good at pop quizzes. I can get stuff done when there is a time crunch, when something is imminent that is on the horizon. So, the example for this week is the fact that I'm going to Tampa this coming weekend for my cousin's wedding, which is awesome. I want to give a quick shout out to my cousin for their upcoming marriage. I hope that it is a long and happy one, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody this weekend. Distant family and friends and old friends and my brother, his wife, everybody. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. However, I'm stuck in this place right now. Like, as I'm recording this, it's Wednesday night, and I leave for Tampa on Friday, right? So, which gives me only a day, like after I get home from work, a day to finish a video, edit it, upload it, and also pack, right? But I find it very, very interesting that I can do that. I can do all those things under the pressure of the clock, right? I know for a fact that I'm going to get this done tomorrow. I know for a fact I'm going to complete what I need to tomorrow, get everything I need to done so that I can just leave on Friday and not have to worry about it, right? But the productive mind, the productive person who uses their time wisely would say, get your stuff done early, get it done in a timely manner so that you have plenty of time for other things later on, and then you don't have to worry about it. There's just one problem. I don't work that way. I work very well under pressure. I work very well under the thumb of the clock or of a obligation or something along those lines. And it works every time. Like I said before, it was the same for schooling. It's the same in my job. I'm very good at working under pressure. I'm very good at putting something off to the very last minute and still getting it done and getting it done well. Now, that's not to say there have been times that has backfired. I mean, there are times when you get something done in a good in a I'd say productive fashion, and that is to say, in a manner that is of what am I trying to say? In a timely manner is what I'm trying to say. And that can also backfire because you can still make mistakes and you can still overlook something. No project is perfect, it's only abandoned, right? That's a good quote. But I don't know. I just the way that I do these things, the way that I function, and the way that I tend to make things happen is by doing them as close to the time clock as possible. I don't know. Am I weird? Is anybody else like this? Could anybody else relate to this kind of thing? Because I feel like there's some out there that can procrastinate up to the point of no return. Like, you absolutely have to get it done, and you perform very well at it still, even with all the time. And I think I get this from my family, my close family, so my immediate family, that is. So I'll give you guys a little story. When I was growing up, I was the notorious procrastinator, and it would get on my mom's nerves because I was homeschooled for most of my school career, and I was the the one who got stuff done at the last minute, right? And it would drive her up the wall. And we would always talk about time management and how I can improve and all that stuff. And I would just always kind of be like, yeah, it's just, that doesn't work for me. That does not work for me. It's not that I didn't want to do the thing or I didn't care to do it. It's just that I did it when I felt it was necessary, which is at the last minute. And I think it also comes from my own father. So I'm not putting my father under the bus or anything like that. That's not what's happening here. I'm going off of what my grandmother, rest her soul, told me a number of times in my childhood. My dad, when he was growing up, was that procrastinator. He was that kid who, kind of put things off and, sometimes to the night before, and he would ace a test or he would finish that project or whatever, right? And my grandmother would tell me she could never understand that. Like the fact that he completely blew it off to the last possible second and still do an amazing job, she could never understand. And I think I get that from him. I think I honestly do get that from him because it is very evident in this, right? It is evident in this time. So, yeah, that's something that I want to put out there, that maybe if you are also the creative or the YouTuber or the artist or whatever, who is also the procrastinator, maybe this is something you can relate to. And what I'll say to that, this is not in a way to justify laziness. It's not in a way to justify neglect or anything like that of your own work or your projects. If it works for you, what I'm really saying is, if it works for you, then keep going with it. Keep doing that, because if it works, then it works, So I think that's what I'm coming to understand, fully as an adult, is that this formula or this method or whatever you want to call it is what indeed works for me. So that being said, there will be a new video for this weekend. And there kind of has to be, because I put that timely pressure on myself to get a video up before I leave. So I want you guys to have a video when I'm on this little vacation. I want you to have that entertainment and that time that, in YouTube, in this podcast, in streams, and so on, in order for you to also be entertained while I'm away. So that is what I'm going to stick to as much as I can. And I know that it's going to get done. So yeah, I'd like to hear from you. If you are that person, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it, and I would love to hear what your process is, if you have one. It's also very important to drink water, so yeah, there you go. But anyway, that leads me into a nice little transition to talk about something that my therapist and I have been going through for the past number of weeks, which, if any of you have heard in the past, I've talked about it a little bit. The cognitive behavioral therapy and going through doubt labels and all those kinds of things. We've discussed this before. One of the things that we talked about and have been talking about, especially in our last session together, is what's called cognitive reframing or mental reframing. And what that entails, in my own definition that I'm going to butcher, but bear with me. What that entails is taking a situation or taking something from your past and looking at it in a different way. So let's say you had a negative experience from X number of years ago that still somehow irks you or bothers you or just plays on your mind like it shouldn't in the modern day, in the current day, right? Cognitive reframing is looking at it in a different way and realizing how you can how you can view it in a more positive factor, in a more positive way. So I'll give you a great example that I thought about just today, actually. Um, I was recalling a time. This is a couple of years ago, and I recalled this time yesterday, as a matter of fact, while I was driving home. Um, about a couple of years ago, I was at this game night with some friends, and I remember we were playing a game that it was one of those party games where it was like Never Have I Ever or something like that. It was one of those types of games. I can't remember exactly what it was, but essentially it was one of those party games, right? And oh, it might have been two truths and a lie, right? Um, One of my truths was that I don't have a credit card. I don't have credit card debt, anything like that. And it came down to most of the table voting that was the lie, right? I said, I've never owned a credit card and I don't have credit card debt. Like, that was one of the truths, but everybody at the table, or almost everybody at the table at this little gaming session, thought it was a lie, because most Americans in their prime, in this time of life, have a credit card and they have some sort of credit card debt or some sort of whatever, like score, right? And I like blew it out of the water. I was like, that is actually true. I don't have a credit card and I'm not in debt, And the whole table was shocked. They were like, really? I was like, yeah, really. But that wasn't the part that was irking. The part that bothers me is the way that I handled that answer. And I remember being very, very vocal about it. I remember going off about how credit cards are. I said some things about credit cards that just weren't very. They were very party friendly, we'll say. And I remember the feeling while I was giving my little soapbox speech about credit cards and debt and all that stuff. During that whole party game, it was like a whole tangent that I went on. And the feeling, the vibe across the table was very uncomfortable. It was it was almost like I was standing up there and bragging, At least that's what it felt like in hindsight, looking back on that situation. And I remember sitting down and thinking, oh man, why did I say that? I shouldn't have been so vocal. I should have just, left it at that and moved on to the next thing. But here's the thing. That was the thing that I thought about yesterday, driving home. And I thought to myself, excuse me, hiccups. Oh man, it came out of nowhere. Sorry. I rethought about that situation, and I was like, wait a second. There's no need to feel negative about this situation. There's no need to feel guilt or shame about how I handled that situation 2+ years ago, right? Because, one, nobody cares. For real, nobody cares. Nobody's thinking about that situation that was at that table. In fact, they probably don't even remember the game night that we had 2 years ago. And I'm the only one at this time who is giving any sort of mental energy to the situation that I remember so poorly, right? So that's one way to reframe this cognitively. Another way to reframe it is to look at it in a positive way of, I'm proud of the fact that I am debt free, that I don't own a credit card, and that I've stayed out of those financial woes, as it were, for these many years. So that is something to be proud of. That is something to vocalize, in a sense, that says, I try to be smart with my money and I try to be responsible with my finances and such. So that's another way to look at it in a better light, is to be not prideful, but to be okay with your accomplishment in that, right? Now, the way I presented it, sure, was not great, but, that comes back to nobody cares and nobody's thinking about it except for me, right? So I was able to take that situation and reframe it cognitively and look at it a different way and realize that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And that is very true for many of life situations, if not all of life situations. If you look at a blunder in the past, a social faux pas, if we're going to use a fancy word, and you can realize that you giving this negative mental energy to that time that you had in the past is not worth any of your time at all. And the only time that it's worth, and this is what my therapist said, he said, and this is totally ambiguous, but he said, give it 20 minutes of your time. 20 minutes is an ambiguous number. Just give it a certain amount of time that says, I'm going to process this, because I don't think I ever fully processed it at the time, in a healthy way. Give yourself roughly 20 minutes, we'll say, to think it over, process it, and think, like, how could this have been better? What could I have done differently, etc.? And how do we go about this now? So that's what I did. I took the time while I was driving home, and I processed it for real, once and for all, and I reframed it in a more positive fashion. So that's something that you can do as well. If you have a situation or a time in your life that you're not particularly proud of, either by your actions or by the actions of somebody else, which you're not responsible for, then you can look at it in a way that will in fact benefit you rather than hurt you or hurt others over time. So, yeah, what's that thing in your life that you will sometimes come back to mentally in thought and then ask yourself or say to yourself maybe negatively, oh man, that was so stupid, I could have done better, I could have been whatever, right? Whatever the case is, whatever you want to say about it. Think about that time. Give yourself 20 minutes to process it. And then after that 20 minutes, then start to cognitively reframe it and realize that it's not as bad as you think it was, or not as bad as you think it is right now, right? So that's how we have to handle a lot of these things. That's how we have to handle a lot of our social blunders or the blunders of others that maybe cause secondhand embarrassment, right? So I encourage you, think of those times that maybe still bother you to this day. Give yourself 20 minutes for each one. Process it for ambiguously 20 minutes, give or take 20 minutes, and then cognitively reframe it in a way that gives you a more powerful outlook on the situation than before. Maybe you don't have all the facts. Maybe the situation, the time and the place was just not right, Like, I remember another time, I'll give you a quick one here. Another time was when I was really young. I mean, like 12, 13, something like that. I ended up falling asleep at my aunt's father's funeral. And I wasn't snoring or anything like that, but I remember waking up to my mom, like, punching me in the side, like, wake up, be respectful. That right there is an example of, well, one, being a kid, but also, I was not very respectful in that moment, but I was 13. I was 13 at the time. I didn't know a whole lot about respect. I didn't know a whole lot about condolences. I didn't know a whole lot about social cues, as it were, right? So that one there is an easy one. That's an easy one to think of and think over for, like, I just gave it like 2 minutes of thought there, I was a kid. I didn't know that much at the time. And I upset my mom in the in the moment, but I did not cause any lasting effects to the overall funeral. It's not like, it's not like everybody stopped and stared, including the pastor, and looked at me and was like, wake that boy up. No, that did not happen. Instead, my mom was the only one who noticed me at the time and, like, kind of slapped me awake, right? So, yeah, there's the facts, plain and simple. It could be something from your childhood. It could be something from a past job or relationship, whatever the case, right? And it's not to say this is not to say that you are fully justified in these actions. Like maybe what you did to somebody was absolutely wrong. There is that. I can count many, many times. Actually, I can't even count the many times that I've hurt people, that I've wronged people, and the reality of that is I have to own those things. And by owning them is to process them, and also by fully owning them is to cognitively reframe them. So I could take one of those times that I really hurt somebody, be it intentionally or not intentionally, and I can process it and think, yeah, I was in the wrong, because those times that I hurt people, I was in the wrong. I still am in the wrong for it. But that doesn't mean that I need to keep crippling myself day after day or month after month with these thoughts or these realities that you can't get back, because they already happened. And what we can do with those situations now is improve ourselves and learn from them, know not to do them anymore, know that it is absolutely something that you do not want to repeat. But also, cut yourself some slack. I beg you, cut yourself some slack. Be kind to yourself, Maybe you knew better, maybe you didn't know better. It's hard to say, depending on the situation, But as it stands right now, whether you knew better or not, those times have passed. And whether you've made up with that friend or friends or people that you maybe did wrong to, if you couldn't heal the relationship, the best thing that you can do is, if you can, reach out to them and just say that you're sorry. But if that's not an option, if it's awkward or whatever, you can still find that inner peace, that internal solitude that says, I own this mistake, and if I see them again, I'm going to let them know that I own it, and I'm going to be a better person, because this is part of life. This is part of being human. It's part of living, is to realize that you're not perfect, that you mess up like everybody else, and you do not want to be a repeat offender of those things. So that's what I mean. Overall, that's what I mean with cognitive reframing, is finding those things in your life, processing them for 20 minutes. Give yourself 20 minutes of process time. You can cry if you need to, even. Like, cry, be angry, do what you got to do, write about it, whatever helps in the moment of those 20 minutes, right? And then improve on the worst. Tell yourself, this is not what it seems to be. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was. Maybe, if there are any lasting effects, they are better now than they used to be in that time, right? So, again, I encourage you, if there are any times in your past that have absolutely kicked your butt, I'm here to tell you that it's not over, and those are not the ends to you. They do not define you. You are not your thoughts, the thoughts that you're thinking right now about those things that have happened. You are separate from those thoughts. They are not who you are, and that situation is not who you are either, because you know who you are. And if you don't know who you are, well, you're learning about it from those times, because it's not the time that it's not the times that you succeed that truly define you. It's the times that you fail. It's the times that you let someone down. It's the times that you mess up. It's the times that you realize that you were in the wrong, or things could have been better, either secondhand or, maybe something that was out of your control. But those are the moments that push us forward. And those are the moments that define our character. They're not us. Those times are not us, but they define who we become. It depends on what we do with them. So, hope that's encouraging for you. I hope you're out there listening right now, hearing this, and realize that it's not over. and you have so many more future opportunities to do so much better for others and for yourself. You know, I've talked a lot about quotes and scripture and, philosophy and theology on this podcast, but I will say there is truth to the proverb, look not only to your own interests, but also to the interests of others. Because that is what truly makes us or breaks us. So, I'm going to end this podcast real quick because this is a bit of a shorter episode, but I think it's worth mentioning what I just mentioned. And like I said, I'm going completely off script. This is just something that has been on my heart and I've been wanting to talk about. But I'm going to end it on a light note for you all. I'm just going to say, you need to go watch Hazbin Hotel Season 2. It is fantastic. So that is my shameless plug for the Helliverse out there. It has been a wild ride so far. I love it. It is such a good show, and I encourage you to go watch it because it honestly deals a lot with the human experience and mental health and how we treat others in our lives and how we, can help the relationships and the people around us. It's a funny, goofy show, with some cringy music and moments, but it does have a lot of heart, I do have to say. So if you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you. If you haven't seen season 1, go watch it first and then watch season 2. But season 2 is proving to be a very, very good masterpiece, in my opinion. So there's my plug for you. This is my little media plug, so I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, I think it's time for bed. I've stayed up pretty late to do this, and I'm going to be leaving for Tampa here soon, so it's time for me to pack it in and say my goodbyes until next week. So if you've made it this far, I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for all of your support and all of your love and all of you who have been so kind and so generous and so supportive and all of your love. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again, once again. It is because of you that I'm doing this. It's not the fact that I have to do it every day. It's the fact that I get to. That is a blessing. And I could not thank you enough for it. And I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this, to watch the streams, to, watch the videos on the main channel. It really does mean the world to me. And I want to thank you all for your support and unending love and all that you've given on this platform and many other platforms. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you. So, until next time, my friends, remember Sic Parvis Magna, greatness from small beginnings. Remember where you started and where you're going now on your journey. There's greatness in every step, whether you find it or whether you create it. And don't forget those who brought you up and who continue to stand by you today. Let them know that you love them and appreciate them, because you never know what tomorrow will bring. And as always, be you, be yourself. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because no one can decide that except for you. Because there's never been anyone like you. There's no one like you right now. And there will be no one like you in the future. Only you can do the things the way that you can, the way that you do best. And this is your time. So shine bright as much as you can. So I want to thank you all once again for listening. And until next time, this is Samson Kitty Fox saying bye-bye. Bye. Love you. And meow meow. Mm-hmm.